Have you ever had any real life ghost stories, and what was your experience? About a year ago, something woke me up in the middle of the night. For a few seconds, I was squinting around my room, still trying to adjust to the light level. Eventually, I noticed a blurred figure next to my bed. I tried to concentrate on what it was, but it was too dark to make out distinct features, and my eyes were taking forever to adjust. I thought it was my mom, for some reason, and I asked, "Mom?" No response. Asked that same question 3 times, but with more urgency each successive time. Eventually, I sat up on my elbow and tried to reach my hand out to touch the figure, still assuming it was a sibling or one of my parents. The second my hand made contact with the location of that foggy outline, it disappeared. My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately lay back down and closed my eyes. Just wanted to pretend like nothing happened. I owned a very old house, and a friend of mine, former, opened the front door and yelled, "Anything out there is welcome to come in." We were all immediately uncomfortable, and, by coincidence, about an hour later, this was around 1 AM, we all heard a scream, felt something, and several light bulbs burst at the same time. In the moonlight, we all swore we could see a silhouette sitting at the table in the dining room, but phone flashlights showed nothing. We all went to bed freaked out, and I sold the house a short while later. It was never comfortable again, and strange things kept happening. There is a story about this object that used to be haunted, but by a good ghost. This man refused the blessings of the good ghost and ended up going insane. My mom, possessed by Indiana Jones' spirit, decided to find this object and brought it home. Later she found the family of the man who ended up insane. He didn't go insane at all, he just got old and senile. But many people get chills when they visit our place and find a 10 feet tall old object in the living room. Some who don't even know the story claim to have seen a man with a description of the ghost in our living room, thinking it was a guest at home. We believe we have a good ghost at home. I've had a few experiences, be they hallucinations or whatever. First was in a holiday cabin. Something walked up the stairs to my room, but when I didn't see a person, when I should have, I got scared and closed my eyes. It walked up beside my bed, moved the watch on my nightstand, and then walked back downstairs. Like WTF. Another time something drew an S shape on my foot. This woke me up, but I thought I was dreaming, then it did it again, which freaked me out. Snake was the first thing on my mind, but a thorough search found nothing. Told my brother, and he said something grabbed at his foot that same night. 2 weeks later something sat beside me on the bed. I instinctively elbowed it, then realized what I did and braced for a punch in the face, but nothing happened. The last occurrence, I was at my desk and someone was going through the cupboards in the hallway, then into my parents' room, and they jumped on the bed. My dog came into my room with a very puzzled look on his face, at which point I realized my parents had left for a walk on the beach. The noises were still going on and stopped as I was about to enter their room. Didn't find anyone or anything. Would be nice to know what causes such happenings. Maybe some weird quantum effect. Once while I was home alone overnight, I heard footsteps downstairs and the sound of a light switch being turned off. I was about 10 at the time and basically shat myself and stayed in my bed until morning. When I eventually got up, the downstairs light was switched on, but the doors were still locked and no one else was at home. In college, one of my roommates came home drunk after everyone else was already asleep and didn't lock the front door. The next morning we heard that all of our neighbors, all college students as well, had been broken into and had items stolen. We were all shocked that we weren't targeted after knowing she left the door unlocked all night. The roommate I shared a room with told me a couple years later that on that night she woke up in the middle of the night after hearing our front door handle jiggling like someone was trying to get inside. When she sat up in her bed, she saw her deceased grandfather standing in our bedroom doorway. I definitely think he was there and protected us that night. We were the easiest targets, leaving our door unlocked, yet no one broke in. The local high school has an ornate entryway that is taller than the rest of the building and vaguely resembles a castle's tower. There had been stories circulating for years about ghosts living in the tower, though no one can quite agree on how they got there. One story claims a student hung herself after an affair with a married teacher, while another says that a male student killed himself, while yet another tells of another student caught in a love triangle that ended in tragedy. Even with the varying stories on how the ghosts came about, it's generally agreed that something is there. The fact that the tower used to house classrooms, but now the area is kept closed off and locked up is rather telling. Lights have been seen through the windows, voices and tapping noises have been heard, and the door to the tower is known to randomly unlock and open itself. At night my dog got up and just kept barking and barking at the laundry room. He was growling and ready to attack. There was absolutely nothing there. I think the only non-paranormal way to explain that incident is to say that the room is closest to the forest next to my house, so maybe he detected an animal or something. Still spooked me for the rest of the night though. We were all sitting at the table eating dinner not talking, and we all heard this deep male voice say something, and it scared the shit everyone. This was in September 2011, and then on December 21st 2012 at around 2 in the morning all the bathroom door on all 3 levels opened and slammed shut hard, waking everyone up. I used to work at a nursing home. The nursing home had these pages in the individual rooms that the residents could use to page us in case they needed anything. This one lady, who was well into her 90s, didn't understand how to use the pager, so she would just yell hello as loud as she could until someone would come and see what she needed. On the day she died, my friend and I were in the hallway washing our hands and talking after we just got done prepping her body for the funeral home to take her away, when we hear this hello in the hallway coming from the general direction of her room. Both of us just looked at each other, confirming with each other that we both heard the voice. Then, her and I went around to the rooms to make sure no one else has said anything, but no one had. My sister heard me thumping around in my room above her and playing my TV loud and rolling my chair across the room constantly. She got pissed cause it was only 10 in the morning, so she went upstairs to cuss me out, but I wasn't there and the TV wasn't on. I had been in class for an hour at that point and our dad worked first shift for Grams. She immediately left the house and didn't come back until our dad was home. My husband's ghost story. He was 7 to 8 years old. Family lived in an apartment in a rough area next to an overpass. Fun fact, Snoop Dogg shot one of his music videos there. He's from a big but poor family, so his bed was the sofa. It was hot, so he had the front door open slightly with the security door closed and locked so some of the street light is coming in. Middle of the night something touches his thin blanket at his foot. He opens his eyes and sees this figure of a tall thin young man wearing a jersey, holding a basketball. It's dark but the street light gives a bit of visibility, where some details make it through, like the large veins popping out of the man's head, except the man has no face. Scared, my husband covers his head with a blanket and tells himself it's not real, he's just seeing things. He slowly removes the blanket. The man is still standing there. This goes on for hours until eventually my husband just knocked out. A week later, he's playing marbles with the neighborhood kids, and one of the kid was like, "Hey, did you know a guy got killed here last week?" A homeless guy found him under the overpass and told us, so our family had to call the cops. The dead guy had on some Jordans I wanted to steal, but that's kinda messed up. Someone probably threw him over because the guy's head was twisted completely backwards. I'll go ahead and post mine. My boyfriend and I were laying in bed one night trying to go to sleep when we heard loud and heavy footsteps walking down our hallway. We hollered and they just kept coming at a steady pace. At this point we thought someone broke into our house, and now we are assuming they're here to hurt us. BC they was not hesitating. My boyfriend had his gun ready, but once the sound got to our door, it stopped. No sign of anyone in the house, no nothing. It still gives me chills, and if my boyfriend didn't hear it too I would have thought I was crazy. Middle of the night, woke up, went to the bathroom, literally bashed into something that wasn't there. I looked up, and I saw its face. It was literally fucked. Still to this day I can make out its face and everything. In the end I ran to my parents' room, because I was that scared. It was weird cause you would have thought that you can just go through a ghost supposedly, but nope, I literally bumped into the thing. This was from my mom's perspective, but I'm in the story. I was a 2-month-old baby and my nana died, and my great auntie and grandma stayed up all night to see if their mom would visit them before going to heaven. Apparently I started crying in the middle of the night, so my mom got up to feed me, and she walked down the hall into my bedroom and she saw my nana looking down at me protectively into my crib while I was crying. Then she looked up at my mom and gave her a smile, then she disappeared. I think back to that when I feel down, to think that someone out there wanted to see me in their last moments.